I understand this is evening service, and I will try to get you out at a decent time. But again, in order for me to understand, you got to talk back to me, and then I know you understand in the spirit, and I can move on to the next. I intend to preach and sit down. That's pretty much the goal there. Let God use you, and when He's done, you sit down and watch God work. We're going to go to Mark chapter 11, and the whole entirety of the reading is actually verse 12 through 25. However, in the interest of time and the pursuit of you all studying on your own time, I'm only going to read one. But we'll travel through, but I challenge you all to really read it and see what God tells you after hearing this in your own personal study. I believe that God will give you all something that will help you all with this time. I can't tell you how many times I've read a text and got something new out of it every time. We're going to look at verse 22, and it's the theme, and he says, and Jesus, oh, if you haven't said amen.
Amen.
All right, if you don't, scoot on. And Jesus answered them, have faith in God. Have faith in God. And now you're wondering what we're talking about. If you didn't know, read it, you scholarly people, I'm probably already going through it. But Jesus was out with his 12 disciples. It was getting late in the evening. And so he looked into the distance, and what he saw was a fig tree in leaf. A fig tree in leaf means a fig tree in season. All right, so what a fig tree does in season, what everything does, it produces fruit. And so if you're hungry and you see a fruit tree, this is before Walmart and Kroger and Aldi and my dreaded grocery store, Food Lion. And if anybody loves it at work, I'm sorry. I just don't like the store. But Food Lion or anything like that, where you can go in and pick any fruit, whether it's in season or out. I mean, it doesn't even matter. You can just grab a watermelon year round. I don't eat watermelon unless it's July. Okay, it has to be well into July before I do it, because they're still giving me January watermelons that were frozen last July, and I'm just not a fan of it. If I want that, I eat canned watermelon. They canned watermelon? It's probably coming soon. Wait, Mark, or you guys are eating canned watermelon. And so Jesus decides that he wants to get this, some fruit. Well, he goes into the tree to find a fig, and there is no figs. So Jesus, this is a moment where I can reflect on my own attitude when I can't go to the grocery store and find what I want. He gets mad and he curses the fig tree. Fig tree, you will produce no fruit for the rest of your existence is what my old version says. This one just says you will wither away to the roots. And so So let's just focus on what that means right now. What that is saying is, what Jesus tried to do, what that means, if you put it in, we're supposed to bear fruit, okay? We're supposed to be, our faith, our walk with Christ, our salvation is supposed to bear fruit. And what is bearing fruit? Jesus deals with those with the fruits of the Spirit. It also shows what you have accomplished as a Christian, your faith, your patience, your diligence, your study. Those are fruits. People can look at you and say, wow, this person is so faithful. You can just talk. You can talk to somebody who's really faithful. You can just feel the power of what they say, the anointing of God on these people. All right? Consider them a fig tree that's producing fruit in season. All right? So if Jesus comes to that person and puts him on a mission to satisfy a work that he wants you to satisfy, then you, as opposed to be the person, the tree to produce good fruit, should be able to walk out on faith and produce what it is God asks you to do. Some people will be placed in your path that you may minister to, pray for, whisper a word of good tidings to, despite your situation. Okay? We don't know the facts about this tree or the area, or maybe somebody else picked it, or maybe animals have eaten all the fruit off of it. It never says what happened to the tree to where this in-season tree had no fruit. It didn't matter. But when God had need of it, it could not do what was required of it. And because of that, it was told you will never produce fruit again. Those are the facts that we do know. So what I'm saying is when it is your time to produce, when God calls upon you to speak to someone placed in your path, I don't know, someone in need. You're supposed to give to that person. God puts it on your heart to do something for somebody else, or to show up to church service, like I said early this morning, and you can't show up because you have a headache, but God needs you there because you don't know who counts on you for spiritual support. And when that person comes to you or looks for you in your pew, or they're in need and you're unable or unwilling to give what God has placed in your heart, then you're just like this fig tree. It is your season. It is your time. You've been requested to produce and you refuse. That is a very harsh thing. I can tell you that there's been times where the Spirit has come to me and rattled my tree and I was not producing fruit. And I felt terrible about it after being convicted, after studying this for the first time, about God, here you are walking my way. And there was someone in need and you put it on my heart, and I was too stuck in my own ways. Too much into the fact that you have blessed me so much I have the ability to give, which means I'm in season, and I just was so into my own self that I was unable, or not unable, unwilling to do what you called me to do. And so with this, the people then, they leave, okay? They go and do whatever it is they were called to do. And so when they came back to the tree, it was gone. And the funny part about this is these are the same 12 disciples who've seen Jesus do all these other miracles, okay? But if you read the text, it says they looked upon where the tree was and was amazed that it would wither away. That was in the book. And it's so crazy. How are you amazed? It's the same God that's done so much, healed the sick and the lepers and walked on water. These things he's done. And you're amazed that a tree withered? What? Did you not believe it was possible the first time he spoke it? The mindset of doubting people is crazy. Because it's like, you know who this is. You know what he's capable of. And here he is cursing a fig tree, and you're amazed that it withered away. Wow, it's just crazy how we as human beings will love God when he does something and it's immediate. But when he says it and it takes some time, we're like, oh, it actually happened. Oh my God, you know. We'll speak about it. God told me he's going to give me a car, and then you get denied and denied and denied and denied. And the one time that someone says, we got you done with 6% to 2% interest with 0 down in 2 years and a half payments of $300 a month. I don't have this, but just in case it was, we were like, whoa, God actually did it. But it should have been a point where it's like, wow. And the only one that remembered in Mark was Peter. And so the people were amazed. They're like, wow, what a great thing. How did you do this? And to get to the point of that, it's like when God speaks something to you, okay, it is easy to look at the time frame that it's going to take to get there. And easy to doubt that it's ever going to happen. But God said something great when they was amazed it happened. Trust in God. Trust in God. And this goes for the giver and the non-giver. Trust in God. If God calls you to produce fruit, trust that whatever it is that you give of yourself, God will replenish it. Just trust in God. I know sometimes it's hard to get that last $5 to somebody, but trust in God. It's hard sometimes to give to someone who's betrayed your trust several times, but if God puts it on your heart, trust in God. It's hard to be loving to someone who's betrayed your love, but trust in God. It's hard to proclaim a promise of God sometimes. Sometimes God promises something so ridiculous, so crazy to you that it can't be possible. But Jesus is telling the disciples, I know it seemed impossible, but all you have to do is trust in God. Have faith in me. Well, what is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I heard someone say it's speaking to something that isn't as if it was. Yeah. To speak to that. I mean, I've seen some people with some crazy faith who sat there and looked at this. I kid you not. I saw my own mother look at this house. Now, we were currently homeless, recently evicted. And I've seen my own mother look at a place to stay. and say, this is where we're going to be. And I've seen it for myself, and I still live at my grandmother's house with my brother and my sister and my grandmother and 2 cats and her dog, and still had to act like I had my own personal space. My stuff was in black bags. I don't know if you've ever been evicted. It's a terrible situation. They go in your house and they ransack everything you have and put them in bags and put it on the side of the street. It's very demoralizing because you have absolutely nothing. Everything you held private has been touched, violated, and put out for everyone to see. And at that moment, my mom took in herself the faith that God said He has something greater. And at that moment, I did not see it, but my mom trusted in God. At the lowest moment, trust in God. When you are His fig tree, it's your season, and you're down to your last fruit, produce it and trust in God, and He will do things for you that you never fathomed. You see God doing the same things for you every time. Oh, He's still giving me grace. He's still giving me mercy. But there has to be a part of you that says there's something greater that God wants to do. What can I do inside myself to produce more for God? I'm doing the same. I'm giving the same. I'm giving the same financially. I'm giving the same in effort. I'm giving the same in church. I'm not doing the same routine, the same committees I've always signed up for. My name is permanently on it, but there's a need over here that I should get in. That we're visiting the same neighborhoods, knock on the same door, but there's other people that need to be reached. But we hear that still small voice and Jesus walking past to your tree saying, will you produce fruit? And the real question He's asking is, do you trust God? Do you trust God? Do you trust Him enough to step out of your comfort zone? Do you trust Him enough to have a door shut in your face? Do you trust Him enough to look at what you have and still say, I have enough for today, but if I give this, I have to skip this amenity. I can't put this much gas in my car. If I help this person across the street, it's raining, they're a stranger, it's night, but I feel that God wants me to do something for you, and you can just watch God work miracles in your life because you stepped out on faith and said, this is my season. God, you've been blessing, so let me be a blessing to somebody else so they can see who you are. Who you are. You are the mighty God. And you may be surprised at what the person might say. They may say, you don't have to do this. Or they may say, wow, what made you think of me? And you can just say like they said to, like Jesus said to them, trust in God. Trust in God. It ain't about me, but trust in God. And then He goes and tells them, with faith the size of a mustard seed, you can speak to a mountain, you can cast it into the sea, and it will do that for you if you just have faith. Trust in God. On a higher level, you see, the disciples trusted that God could do things. They know He could heal the sick, and they know that He could do X and Y and Z, but this is the first time He spoke to something organic and said, you will no longer be there, and then they come back and it's absolutely gone. What an awesome moment that would have been when God revealed something brand new. Something brand new. This is something that the mystics wasn't doing, the pagans weren't doing this. No one they've seen do this. These are Gentiles and Jews, and they're watching all these other things going on because we know about the Zealots and the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the mystics and the astronomers and the Magi. They're all doing things similar to what Jesus was doing, but on a great faith scale. But people perceive it to be real. But nobody at this time has spoken to something as real as a bush and say, you will not produce anymore. And they come back and it absolutely goes away. That was the moment where God showed them something new. And then He empowered them for the first time in the text that you can do the same. Yes. See, we have this great power inside of us. We have a great power inside of us to do something greater. Whether you're the younger of these or the oldest of these, there's something greater. And God is saying the potential is inside of you if you just trust God. Trust God. Step out on faith. I mean, we all look at Peter and stepping out on the water, and one step, I'm above it, and then the second step we lose it and we sink. But God is saying just in that moment, He was there waiting. He said, okay, Peter, it's all right. It's all right. We can try this again. I'm still there with you. Even though you lost a step, we can still stand up and continue to walk outside on the water. He's just that good of a God. And so to show what true commitment to the plan of God despite persecution, Jesus, here I go with the gospel, goes from courtroom to courtroom. It's a theme here. Not saying a mumbling word because he knew the purpose. And he had faith in his heavenly Father. He had the moment of weakness when he asked for the cup to be passed. But now he's really knowing that the cup can't be passed and us still have access to salvation and us still have access to the Holy Spirit. And for us to know that we can do this, he understood our faith is weak. We're a seeing is believing people. So Jesus decided that this had to be done. So because he was committed to our cause, he went from courtroom to courtroom, and they put a purple robe over him, and then they put a crown of thorns on his head, and they ripped out his beard, and they beat him all night long. And then on top of that, with his beaten, battered, bruised body, standing there carrying his cross of Golgotha's heel, and we are so stubborn that we can't even give to someone in need, and he was beaten, battered, and bruised so that we can have the possibility to do those things, so we could be truly blessed. And he gets on top of this cross and he's still giving out tidbits of people of forgiveness and giving obligation, taking care of his mother, because it wasn't about him at all. And yet we have such a lack of faith. Such a lack of faith that we see needs all over the world, and we are so stubborn we don't even give to people. He decided in the midst of his final hour to say, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But we are in our nice shirts, our nice pants, our nice shoes, riding around in a vehicle that goes from point A to point B, living in the grace and the joy and the mercy of God. And we see people in our very community who need such things, and because they don't sound like me, because they don't walk like me, because they don't talk like me, I don't share the glory. But Jesus is standing there by your tree and said, will you produce? Will you produce? Because if someone didn't give you some fruit, you wouldn't even know who I am. If someone didn't have faith in you, you wouldn't know who I am. There is a God who's standing there waiting for you to say, do you have faith enough to produce when I send someone to your tree? Because I've given you a season of abundance. And all I want you to do is when I send someone to you, that you produce. And it was a random visit, random tree. It's not like it was an organized visit. He didn't say, guess what tree, I'm coming to you right now. I'm going to get a fruit. You better have one ready. But when Jesus walked to the tree, but this time not for shade, this time not for sleep, this time not for comfort, but he wanted this tree to produce. Are you willing to say, Jesus, I have faith enough in you, and I know that everything that I have is because of you. Everything that you have given me is yours. We talked about it in Sunday school. Abraham knew Isaac, his greatest gift, his biggest promise, was not his. It was God's to do with. He was God's. And so when God called it, it was time to sacrifice Isaac. But God said, I got a ram in the bush. Whatever it is that he calls you to do, he will provide. The Bible says he said that I will restore the years the locusts have stolen. Anything you've lost, I'll give it back to you. I'll give it back to you. But the question is, do you have faith in God so that when someone pulls from your tree, that you're able to say, whatever it is, God, you have for me to give, for your kingdom, for your glory, it is yours to take. May we all stand. I'll tell you this. Faith in God is the only way we make it. It is the only way that Christians has made it through the years. There were times where Christians would go and they would be dipped in candle wax and set on a stake and lit like candles. But these people, knowing the consequences of their faith, still trusted God enough that when they saw a city in need of the gospel, they said, for God I live, and for God I'll die. We say we'll lay down our lives for God, but we won't even lay down 5 minutes with a stranger. We won't even lay down an hour for door knocking. We won't even lay down 30 minutes with a visitor just to say, is there anything that we can do to show you more love, to show you Christ-like behavior? Is there anything that we can do to stop by someone's house that hasn't been to church in 4 or 5 days and say, hey, sister so-and-so, I know you like pecan pie. I like pecan pie. We wanted to make one for you because we haven't seen you and we miss you. Let me tell you what the pastor's been preaching on these last couple of days. And is there any way that I could come pick you up? Hey, my name is Jacoby. I'm here at Bell Road Church of the Nazarene. And you know what? We're having Sunday morning service. And I know that you've been living in this house for a couple of years. And we just want to let you know that you are more than welcomed in our gates. And you will see the change in the community because they will then start producing fruits too. And then all of a sudden, seats starts filling. And not only seats filling, but they're bringing in more people because your tree producing and their trees producing. And we're all producing fruit. And when Jesus is in this place, just think of the abundance. And God can just sit there and look at us and say, well done. Well done. Thank you for trusting in me. Is there somebody today that says, God, I just need greater faith. I just need greater faith. Help me to hear your voice. Well, I understand there's pitfalls out there, but God, I want to hear your voice so that when you place someone in my path, it is ordained by you. Or say, God, I'm so sorry for the moments in which you spoke to me already. Thank you. Thank you for not withering my season away, for giving me the ability to continue in my season so that when someone else steps to me, let me tell you, I want to be ready. I want to be ready. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to every person selling newspapers you give $1 to. I'm not saying that everyone with a car on the side of the road, you give them gas money. But you trust the Spirit and you see what He can do. Maybe the family member that you've been inviting and haven't really done much yet, given up hope on, or the neighborhood that you don't want to visit, or the place where they go to this church, so I'm not even going to go over there, but things of that nature. There is a time for that. Or maybe the blessing that God has inside of you that you just refuse to go through the labor pains to give birth to. Trust in God. Trust in God. There's nobody else that will never leave you nor forsake you. Nobody else that carries you through day to day. You trust Him to wake up every morning. I don't see anybody writing their own obituary every night, do I? I don't see that going. But you trust God to wake you up every morning. I don't see people writing their last will and testament before they get in their car and driving. So you trust Him enough to get you to point A to point B. Just trust God to get you the rest of the way. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly All-Wise God, we thank you for who you are. We thank you for the word in which was given out today. Help us to have faith in you, to completely surrender ourselves to you. We trust you, God, with our burdens, our sins, Lord God, our secrets, our wants, our needs. We trust you to handle those things, but help us to trust you that when you call us to give of ourselves, whether it's time, whether it's finances, no matter what it is, a voice, a call, a letter, an email, a text, a Facebook, whatever it is, God, we trust you with our day-to-day lives. You are sovereign. So your will be done. Where you lead me, help us to follow. Because we put our lives in your hand. We died to self when we gave our lives to you. Help us to live the reborn life. Lord God, where you become our daily bread, the air that we breathe. We breathe, Lord God. Remember in the book of John, chapter 6, After you teach, if you're teaching the people about you being the bread and your body being broken and your blood being sacrificed, and the disciples left and said, this is a harsh teaching. And John, he looked at John and said, will you leave with the rest of the disciples? And John looked at you and said, where can I go? Where can I go? You have the everlasting bread. Where can I go? God, help us when we are asked to give of ourselves and people walk away from the commandment of God. We stand in the gap and say, I'm going to stay because I can't leave. God, where can we go? Because you have the living bread. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Just a minute, baby. I'll get that.